podcast where we empower your physical, social, spiritual, and economic health. Consume this content every week with positive energy and good intentions. Join me, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and my starlit queen, Sinclair, the health nerd, and share this with those you love. You are strong, you are beautiful, and you are ready to live your best life. Yes. What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back. It is a beautiful Saturday. I'm not gonna steal your thunder, but thank y'all for tuning in for the True Health Forever podcast. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and y'all know, of course, as usual, I got with me the queen, the smiling, the beautiful, the melanated, the gifted. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd. And yes, I'm here. We are here joining you on a Saturday morning. I haven't been outside. I can't give you a weather report, but it's cold.
Inside.
That much I'll tell you. It's cold. We had a space heater on it a little bit. So
without further ado, Queen, can you hit them with the did you know for today's episode? Wait, before you get into it. This episode 99. Yeah, my episode's freezing. This episode 99.
99.
Let's go. We're about to get into the centennial after this. So we're very, very excited for that. Everyone who's been rocking with us for the 99 episodes on YouTube, on Apple Music, on Spotify, we deeply, deeply appreciate the support. Make sure you are liking, you are subscribing, and following to all the platforms. And tell a friend, because the second 100, I guarantee you, are going to be better than the first 100. All right?
All right.
Queen, hit him with the did you know?
Yes. So, did you know that poor sleep typically leads to eating more throughout the day? A study from the Journal of the American Heart Association studied about 500 women and their sleep and eating habits and found that the women who had lower sleep quality also had higher food intake and a lower quality diet, right? So if you think about sleep, it's your body's restoration period, especially for energy. So if you're not able to get that restoration period, your body's going to look for energy in the form of food. It's going to trigger your hunger hormone called ghrelin, and it's going to make you hungrier throughout the day. And that typically can lead to you consuming more food, more calories, and that's really not conducive for weight loss or for even maintaining your weight. So if you find yourself hungry throughout the day, focus on getting better quality and more sleep. That can definitely, make it so you feel satisfied throughout the day.
Yeah. What's your favorite word for satisfied?
Oh, satiated.
Yes, satiated.
It just sounds cool. I'm satiated.
That was a good one. And you know what else sounds not cool? What sounds angry is that hormone you said, ghrelin.
Ghrelin.
Right. I found that interesting. Wait, what does that hormone do again? One more time.
It triggers your hunger.
So when your stomach is growling, it's because you got some ghrelin.
Exactly.
All right, there it is. So easy tie-in for today, right? And that was a great did you know, Queen. Thank you. But we're going to talk about self-care today. Right? And I think sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, I know for me, I get in hustle mode.
Yes, you do.
I get in, I need to
yes, you ever.
But I get into more like I need to get this work done. I need to write this proposal. I need to make this curriculum. We need to go to this event, that event. And sometimes I miss out on getting quality sleep because I'm trying to hustle. And I think that's a part of the entrepreneurship culture, unfortunately, that people think like you need to lose sleep or you need to be up all night and wake up really early in order to be an entrepreneur. But when it comes to being self-care, if you're not getting that sleep, now you're eating poorly. Now you may be gaining weight or you're not getting the energy that you need and you're not healthy. So then you don't have the longevity that you need as an entrepreneur. So today we got April from the Past Network, and she's going to talk to us. She's going to educate us a little bit on how to really take care of yourself as an entrepreneur. Self-care while you hustle, while you grind. Queen, are you ready?
Are you ready for some podcast?
All right, we're out. let's bring her in.
There she is. Hey.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us today, Miss April. So let's start off with where are you from? Where are you and what do you do?
So let me honor where I'm really from right now, because I always say I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and that is a lie. I am from Fairfield, Alabama. You've never heard of it. I know. But it, but it is the home to my alma mater, my HBCU, Miles College. So it's a small town right outside of Birmingham, but I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I have a small homeschool, micro school community for middle school age African American children.
Nice. Love that. Love that.
This is one of those random questions I said might come up
right off the bat.
Right off the bat,
I
right?
told you,
Random question, but before the podcast, we were talking about salmon pizza, and I just want to make sure we
that is right.
cover
We need to go back to that.
I just want to make sure we get this phenomena down before we dive deep into self-care, because food is our self-care.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so salmon pizza, can you please educate folks who haven't had the pleasure?
So there's this place here in Atlanta, and I don't even know if it's natural, but it's called Slim and Huskies. So if you're in Atlanta and you're listening to me, check it out. There's salmon pizza, and it has a white cheese sauce on it. It's not the red sauce on it, so it's not heavy. And Slim and Huskies is really delicious. And if you're there, get a cinnamon roll. They're really good also. So try it.
Cinnamon roll?
They have cinnamon rolls there too, and their cinnamon rolls are just they're everything. They're everything that's delicious.
So you may not know this about me, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in an episode before, but cinnamon rolls is up in my top 3 foods to enjoy in life.
So when you come to the A, check it out.
Oh, and we have a trip planned to the A at some point this year. So you best believe. Look, I'm about to add Slim and Huskies to my Yelp thing right now.
Go ahead and write it down.
Now, it's not Black owned, and I typically do not promote any business that's not Black owned. That's just my thing. But it's not Black owned, but there are some dope Black owned restaurants here as well. So when you're coming in town, check in with me and I'll give you a list of all the great Black owned restaurants you've got to try.
Oh, that's what we're gonna do. That another thing that's on our list is to visit that the new Black Wall Street shopping center out there in the A2. So definitely go tap in. But the topic of self-care, right? And if we start off light, for us, food is definitely a part of that self-care. But can you talk a little bit about how you stumbled upon focusing on self-care for entrepreneurs? Was it a point in your entrepreneurship journey and setting up this homeschool network where you weren't taking care of yourself and you saw those signs and you were like, okay, I need to switch up? Like what kind of led you to this path?
There are a lot of ways I could answer that. I'll go to the most immediate. In 2020 is when I started the business itself. At the first, so a year into it, I'm still trying to find my way inside of the business. And then in 2021, go to the hospital. It looks like I'm having symptoms of a stroke, but it's not a stroke. It is, my blood pressure is up so high. But in the process of beginning the business, I've always been a smoker on and off ever since I was probably in high school. But I had starting the business, I just started to smoke more and more. And I'm being completely transparent here. I was a Black and mild smoker. So while I was getting the business started, I'm sitting there working at the table. I am smoking. And before I knew it, my blood pressure was up. I was killing myself. And at that moment is when I started to say, I've got to do something different. So I started, my diet shifted, my workout routine shifted, my life had to shift, because if I wanted to live to see this business that I knew was going to transform my community, I had to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you talked about, first of all, wow.
Right.
That especially you getting to that point and then going through a whole lifestyle, shift and makeover. That's very, very commendable. But you talked about the was it the kind of the stress of the entrepreneurship journey that was leading you to smoking more? I'm trying to, guys, I know that's a part of every entrepreneur's journey, dealing with stress, right? And you find your different coping mechanisms, whether it's alcohol, whether it's smoking, whether it's
Food.
binge eating, Netflix, whatever it is. But so many people find those crutches, those coping mechanisms. So was that yours?
It was. Also at that time, interestingly, is that I was starting my business and I was going through a divorce at the same time. So
Wow.
it was, you have this great thing that you're starting and you're losing this great person in your life. And she was an amazing person, but it was just not, it just wasn't working. And so it was the stress of going through the divorce. It was the stress of starting this business. It was, I was a teacher. There is comfort in being a teacher. You know, you're going to have a job. You know, you always know that you will have a job as a teacher. So knowing that I was about to shift and I was about to lose that security was driving me bananas. So it was compounded by a lot of things, but I almost was grateful that it happened the way that it did, because I immediately woke up. I came home that day. When I came in from the hospital, I broke every black and mile. I tried one more time. I'm going to tell you, it was as if God took the taste from me.
Wow.
So that's yeah, it was all of those things combined.
Yeah. Thank you for the nuggets. When we have 3 people watching live, we appreciate y'all. If y'all have any questions about self-care, later on we'll get into about, curriculum and homeschooling, feel free to put those questions or comments inside of the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments, and we'll be able to pull you up. So I want to get into some tangible tips for folks, because I know there's other people out there who are dealing with stress. There's other entrepreneurs that are dealing with stress, dealing with maybe some mental health issues as well. Can you talk maybe a tangible tip that you have that either work for you or that you just really try to champion within your work on how folks can deal with their own mental health or deal with their stress of being ambitious, of having those big dreams, of wanting the dream or the hustle to work, but it comes with that some stress. So can you have some tips for folks?
One of the things I want to say is that word hustle has such a negative connotation. We think that it doesn't, but it really does, because the hustle mentality is you team never sleep. That mentality, that's really not healthy for us. And we need to make sure that when we're saying hustle, that we're also encouraging people inside of the hustle to love yourself, be kind to yourself, be gracious to yourself inside of your hustle. Hustle doesn't mean lose yourself. So I want to make sure that I emphasize that. But tangible things I think that we need to do is that we need to start making no a sentence. Make no a sentence in your life, and you don't have to explain yourself to other people when you say no to them. When you need to honor yourself and love on yourself for a minute and spend time with you, you don't have to justify that to anyone. The answer is no today. I'm not doing that. So learn to say no. Also, know when your cutoff is. So for me, each night, I stop working at 10. It doesn't matter. Every now and then I may stretch a little bit over that, but my creativity is lost by 10 p.m. every night. And
Go on.
it just shuts off, So I honor that. And your time, somebody else may work best late at night. And then, so do whatever works for you, and you don't have to justify that to anyone. Do really what works for you. I shut down at 10 o'clock every night. I remember another thing is that I make sure that others honor my time. So that means that if I say that I'm working for 8 hours today, I'm working for 8 hours that day, and you can't call me and have a conversation. Girl, I'm going to have to call you back. I'm working right now. I had to get my friends in the mindset. What you doing? I'm working. That's what I'm doing. And I don't care that I'm sitting at home working. I'm working. So what you need, make it real quick, and we got to get off this line. So make other people honor your time, and then never forget to treat yourself. Treat yourself. You're going to get broke inside of this hustle. I'm here to tell you, there's going to be some days where you're not going to have those means, especially when you transition out of the full-time and you're doing this full-time. You may have a moment where your money isn't what it used to be. I don't care how little you have. Treat yourself. Don't ever pay yourself first. You know, that's something inside of entrepreneurship. Don't forget to pay yourself. Give yourself that. So I think those things have really worked for me, and I hope that that blesses somebody else.
Oh yeah, I already know the queen's over here. Like, pay yourself, Devon.
Look, especially I love what you said at the beginning about the hustle mentality, because I think it is so preached, right? That team no sleep. If you're sleeping, you're slacking type of thing. And I'm such a big proponent that it has to be a part of your hustle. Otherwise, you are going to burn yourself out. And I think it's, very similar to what we talked about, I think last week, when like, if you think about a college student and you've got like a midterm the next day, your natural inclination might be to pull an all-nighter to study without realizing that you are literally decreasing your brain's ability to recall all of the things you just studied, right? It's the same thing with the hustle mentality. You can think like, oh, I'm going to work for 4 more hours. I'm going to sacrifice my sleep and I'm going to be more productive. Those 4 hours could probably be 2 hours the next day after a good night's sleep, right? So that's more productive because you're going to be able to do more in that 4-hour period than you would with no sleep. So I think like it's just a backwards mentality that I know I love that you preach, and I preach myself too. And especially to the king, make sure that we get good sleep. But I also love what you said about like, you have to honor yourself. So I think even in our dynamic as a couple, he is the hustler, right? He lives to just work. If he's not working, he's like, I'm doing something wrong, right? That's not me. And I've had to come to terms with that in like the last couple months of like, okay, I'm going to bed. Yes, he's still there working on his laptop, but I'm going to bed, or I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch this episode of TV and not work, because that's what I need to do to decompress and, make sure that I get a good night's sleep and I'm fresh for the next day. And at first that there was a little bit of guilt there, like, dang, I need to be hustling too. Like he's there, I need to be working. But I just, at some point I came to the realization that we are different people, and that his grind will tear me apart and have me like dead, So I think that was not dead, but like energy wise. Thank you. No, not dead. But yeah, I just had to come to terms with that. And I'm now like, I can do that with less guilt now, of like, this is what I need to do today. I'm taking a self-care day. You work, that's what you need to do today. And we can come together at the end of the day and, debrief about how our days went.
Right. Because our hustles look different. Everybody's hustle looks different.
Yes.
So and I think that that's so important, that you recognize it so that you can give yourself the grace and be kind to yourself so that you don't feel bad. Other friends that may be entrepreneurs and so forth, they look, girl, you're always working, but I actually love to work. Especially when your work it's something that you're passionate about, and it's not just something that you're doing. I'm really, really passionate about teaching children and bettering our community through education. And so I can do this all day. When I say I can do this all day, I can do it all day.
Look, so speaking of the passion, speaking of the love, I think that's something that I think me and you share, April, is that passion of education. And selfishly, whenever we call out for guests, there's always a little bit of selfishness in there, like, ooh, okay, I like what April doing.
Look,
over
I saw
there.
some of these questions. I was like, oh,
let me get April on so I can learn a little bit. Hold up.
He's in here to learn all you can.
I was like, hold up, she popping out there. So I wanna pivot a little bit to your passion work, right, within the PASS network. I know on your website you talk about culturally relevant pedagogy or culturally relevant content, right? Can you talk a little bit for educators or parents that may be listening and aren't aware of what that means? What is culturally relevant pedagogy or content, and why is that important for our young ones or even ourselves to take into consideration when we're learning something?
So I want us to break the narrative. We're breaking some things today. Some people think, oh, if I put a book with an African American in it in front of them, then that's culturally relevant. And if I talk to them about these African Americans that have done these great things, and that makes it culturally relevant. But our culture is not just our race. Our culture is attached to so much more than that. But for the sake of this moment, we'll talk about it from a from a racial standpoint, though, because that is the moment of reckoning that we're in right now. And that's so significant right now. For me, culturally relevant mathematics is talking about financial literacy.
Yeah.
It's talking about compound interest. It's talking about payday loans, because those sit in our communities and hurt our communities in so many ways. It's talking about how the lottery is a tax on the poor. We're talking about entrepreneurship. When we're talking about math, we're talking about entrepreneurship. When I teach math, it's percentages, and how do you know what's going to be the best, what's the best deal when you see those deals in the store, because that's what we see when we go in the store. That's making it relevant to what we're actually going to see. When we're talking about history, we talk about the geography as it relates to the movement of Africans in America. We don't talk about it just, New York is there. How does that relate to Africans in America? What was the Great Migration? What was that? We talk about that movement of people, and now the return migration to the South that we're seeing right now. So we talk about geography in those terms. And I have my notes here because I want to make sure when we talk about language, appreciate it. Inside of a traditional classroom, a child says ain't, finna, kinda, gonna. We want to correct them. Culturally relevant says, I appreciate that part of your culture. I'm going to teach you how to use language in a way that appeases some others, but I want to teach you to stop caring about the white gaze. That when we say you're good enough, you're good enough. If you say you're good enough, you're good enough. So that's what it's about. It's about teaching African American children, because that's who I serve, and I'm unapologetic about it. But it is about teaching African American children that who you are is enough, and it's showing them that it's across all content areas.
Let's go.
Yeah, love
Let's go. I love getting that energy right in line. I want to know, this may be a kind of an outside the box question for you, but rock with me. How can entrepreneurs or parents take the idea of culturally relevant pedagogy and apply it to their life? I feel like, it's not easy, but I think we can see a direct correlation where we can apply it to teaching kids something, right? But I feel like personally, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always going to be learning. The queen's over here, she's always going to be learning about health stuff. She's going to come running in, teach me about circadian rhythms and what was the ghrelin? Thank you. The ghrelin. So how do we as adults continue to make sure that we're using the concept of culturally relevant pedagogy or content to learn ourselves and to make sure that our own identities continue to be in what we learn and what we consume?
Be intentional. That is the most important thing, is to be intentional. Be intentional about what Facebook groups are you in. That and in the certain Facebook groups, what you're liking on social media is going to determine what they show for you on social media. What advertisers are going to come up for you. So get engaged inside a community so that you can start to know when the Black dance troops are coming in town. So when you know that, for instance, I have a young lady that I went to high school with, Adrienne Starks. I'm going to call her name right now in the atmosphere, but she's a Black female scientist. She's one of the few. They have this great exhibit of all of these Black women in STEM. And she's an absolutely amazing Black woman doing this. When that exhibit comes to your town, if you're not engaged in the right networks, you won't even know that it's coming. So I encourage parents to engage in the right groups on social media, follow the right organizations, follow the Urban Leagues, follow the Minority Business Association, follow the Minority in Arts organizations. Do those things so that you'll know when those experiences that you can engage your children in are coming in your city, and know what's available already. Most cities have very small museums that you don't even know about, that you could be engaging your kids in. Put yourself in the community where people like-minded are doing the things that you want to engage your child in, so you can know when those activities are coming about.
Love it. And if you see the comments coming in, they love your passion for education. Yes, it's needed. As we know, education is the passport to the future, right? So as we continue to try to make a better future for our kids, for ourselves, for this nation, like teaching from this lens, in my opinion, and I think April is the way to go, right?
It's the only way to go, because a system never designed for us will never serve us.
Mm.
And some systems we cannot work within them. They just have to be dismantled. And they're not going to dismantle the system. So you know what we have to do? We have to just create our own.
Yes, yes. And I think that goes to your question on like how to incorporate the culturally relevant pedagogy into like your life and your entrepreneurship journey, is take that and make your entrepreneurship journey, make your business, make it Black centric, right? Make it Afrocentric, put your own twist on it. And I know that's something that I'm doing, is, even in the field of health, right? Education is a field that's definitely not made for us, and neither is health. Right. Everything about health is centered around, the white man, basically. And that's it. They took the research for that and made it relevant for everybody else, even though that's not accurate. So, one of the things I'm doing is taking a Black approach to health and saying, okay, so how does racism affect our health? How can we take our cultural foods and either, make them healthier, or some of them are not unhealthy to begin with. They just have this lens put on them that anything Black is unhealthy, and that's not true, right? We got collard greens. They are so nutrient dense. That's something that we've been incorporated on like a bi-weekly basis. I love me some greens, right? Yes, they're so good, but they sometimes have a lot of negative connotation to them. But anyways, I could get off on that soapbox on the health field too. But let's go back to the homeschooling network, right? You talked about starting your own kind of micro homeschooling network, and I'm very curious, how do you actually start a homeschool?
So I do want to, if you don't mind, I want to circle back to that, creating spaces that are Black owned and Black and targeted for the Black community for one moment, because I think what happens is not only that mentality towards health, but creating businesses that are targeted towards the Black community. We're taught that the Black community won't serve us. They won't pay for our services. They won't, you have to create something that's for the masses or it won't work. And that mentality is stopping so many entrepreneurs from serving our community. Some people might consider I'm too blackity black. I don't care. I trust that my community will support me and I will serve this community, and that's what it's going to be for me. So I think that mentality needs to shift, that our community won't serve us and we can't live off our community alone, because there's a lot of money circulating in our community.
Right.
There's a lot of money, and we just gotta create the product, and they will purchase, and we know that they will because they're purchasing now. But how do you start your own homeschool? Again, one of the things I start with is a mindset. It's not going. There are a lot of things that when you're starting any business, you have to. It's not going to look like what it was when you had that paycheck coming every 2 weeks. You knew it was coming and all of that. It's not going to look that way. So one of the things I tell people to do is educate yourself on business. I took that first year and I learned about building business credit. I got me a couple of coaches to help me out. One coach helped with business, another helped with marketing, and another one specifically, I got a coach that helped me with transitioning from an educator to an entrepreneur. And we call those edupreneurs. So her name her book is up there on my shelf, Erica Terry. And I like to call people names because I like to give people their flowers. Now, so Erica Terry, she wrote the book Classroom to CEO, Black woman here in Georgia. And she actually coached me a lot in making that transition. So I tell people, anytime you're starting a business, get a business coach, get you some mentors in your back pocket. Also with starting a homeschool, get inside of the homeschool groups. Get inside of those homeschool groups outside of social media. You have Facebook groups that where the homeschool parents are, because you got to connect to that community. Go out to the homeschool events and so forth. Find a location, get your business started, choose what your curriculum is going to be, all of those things. But most importantly, I'm telling you, the biggest thing is learning the business, because if you're an educator, you already know the education piece. Learn the business piece, because you will falter if you do not learn the business piece of running a business.
Love it. And
Yeah.
we got a follow-up question from the audience. Can you talk a little bit about your school, like your homeschool pod or your past network, age groups, courses that you're offering, or the particular curriculum focus, which may be financial literacy and Black studies. But yeah, can you talk a little bit about your own network?
So I chose to get inside of that niche market of middle school because I'm gonna tell you, nobody likes middle school kids. If you Man, middle school is hard, y'all. It is hard. I get it. They're going through so much emotionally at that time. They're going through puberty. So what I saw inside of homeschool communities is that you had the K through fives that was locked in,
Mm,
um, and you had the high school because typically by high school they want them to go into a more of a high school setting. So we had that, but we had no one that was serving the middle school and that was closing those gaps inside of learning that children were coming with from the elementary grades or ages. So I serve middle school age African American children. I'm in the College Park area, so I say Atlanta, but it's College Park area of Atlanta. And my curriculum is really, you have the core content, math, science, social studies, but most importantly, I really focus a lot, like I said before, on financial literacy. I make sure that the literature that we're reading is from African American authors at almost at all times.
right.
Um, and I allow a lot of student choice, so it's very individualized.
Mm,
A lot of student choice. What y'all feel like doing? I ask that a lot. Oh, y'all don't feel like
Mhm.
doing that right now? Okay. You like the other morning we started out and we played Uno and spades and and we did a tournament with Uno and spades, and that's what we did to start our morning off. So it's a lot of student choice, and because you know what, Black children are shut down, so are silenced so much inside of homes. A lot, their freedom of choice is taken away from them under the guise of respect.
mm,
And so what I try to do is create a space where they are respected. What they feel like doing is respected. And you can't always do that in a traditional school, because if they come in and you just letting the child lay their head down, it's, why you letting them lay their head down? She tired and
mm.
she not feeling it today. But mama had to go to work, so she came to school anyway. So it's what it is. So I try to do a lot of honoring where they are, what they feel like. Now I'm very adamant. We're gonna get to the business that we got to get to, because they paying me to do a service here. So I'm not delusional, but here's the thing. I'm with my kids 3 days a week. We only are in Tuesday through Thursday. And it's a small group of them. So if you don't want to do anything on Tuesday from 10 to 2, that's okay, 10 to 12, that's okay. Because we it's such a small group that we'll get back to it. It's not like if you don't do it right now, it's not going to happen. So I think shifting that mentality has worked a lot for me. So that's how it looks from day to day. It looks like whatever we feel like doing that day, that's what it looks like.
There it is. Hopefully that answered your question. Conversations. We appreciate you. If y'all have more questions, comments, continue to put them. As y'all can see, April is open to it. We love it. Now what I want to know is, you said Uno, which is a game,
Mhm.
teaches stuff. I think there's another game out there that teaches finances and Black history.
Really?
I'm just wondering if you would be open to using that game as well. You mean no commitments. I just want to know if you'd be open to it.
Let me tell you something. Black Wall Street is on our list
Come
of
on.
games that we will be incorporating. But let me say, we started with Uno and spades because I couldn't believe that I had kids that didn't know how to play spades. That was a problem for me. But no, that's definitely a game that we will be incorporating really, really soon. It's actually I wanted it to be one of my treats at the end of our entrepreneur series. So last semester it was financial literacy. This semester is entrepreneurship. So we're getting into writing our business plans right now, because every student has to write a business plan. So one of the things at the end of that is we're going to introduce them, and we're going to have a family night. And part of our family night will be featuring the Black Wall Street game.
Love
Oh, we
that.
love it.
Love that.
Yes, literally warms my heart. I can see it. I appreciate you, April. Follow-up selfish question.
Here we go.
Follow-up selfish question. Can you walk through, I guess, I'm trying to wrap my head around the business model of a homeschool pod and what separates it from trying to start a school versus trying to start a childcare facility versus trying to start. Hopefully, you're getting where I'm going. Like I guess the licensing framework. If someone was interested, if Devon was interested,
Like,
April,
let's just go to it.
let's talk about it. If Devon was interested in
Mhm.
supporting and starting a Play Black Wall Street homeschool pod, can you walk through how Play Black Wall Street would do that out here in California? What would be our steps?
Well, it really depends.
Okay.
Um, it really depends on what your state regulations are. So Georgia is very lenient on what homeschool looks like. So it's very easy for me to do this. So my students I'm not considered to be their teacher. Their parents are considered to be their teacher because they're homeschool children. So their parents are their teachers. I am their tutor. So I don't have a school. So I don't have to have the licenses for a school. I
Mm,
have a tutoring center. And they just so happen to come to me during the business hours of a traditional school.
I'm rocking with you.
You understand? So that's what you understand that you're starting. You're not starting a school, you're starting a tutoring center for homeschool children. And if
Mhm.
you take it for being a school, you're going to have and then become a tutoring center, then you're going to have less regulations around what you're doing.
I'm okay. I'm picking that up. One last follow-up question, and then
Mhm.
I want to ask you from your opinion and like just what you experience. What are the benefits of homeschooling? Because I think we've seen a lot of people transition into homeschool within this virtual environment because they see the benefits there. But you being in this industry a little bit longer, if you can talk to those benefits. But one more selfish question for you before we get to that.
Okay.
Queen. The selfish question would be the curriculum piece, right? So as you're building the financial literacy, the Black studies, and you're giving them, I know James Baldwin, you're giving them these just really good, I think, cultural books that we need. How does that connect to the homeschool curriculum of things that they need to satisfy based on state kind of policies?
Well, every state is different. So you really have to look at what your state requires. Again, I'm in Georgia, so it may be a little different.
Mm,
Uh, but the way that I did it, I knew that I wanted to make sure that they had the core curriculum because I thought that was essential. You need to have your English, your math, your reading, your writing. You need to have those. Um, but I have a master's in curriculum and instruction, so it was nothing for me to build a curriculum. I just sat down and developed the framework. I knew this is where I wanted to go with science. These are the, for instance, right now, most people may not know, but the theme for Black History Month this year, or the Black History theme set by ASALH, which is the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, is Black Health and Wellness. That is the theme this year. So, with that being the theme, where we're going in science is that we're focusing on the 5 to 6 major health issues that significantly impact the Black community, including hypertension. Right now, we're focused on diet. Well, we did diabetes already. We did heart disease. We're doing focus on heart disease right now. And we're going to also be talking about infant and maternal mortality rates.
mm, middle.
So I just looked at what is happening in the Black community surrounding each of these contents, and I knew that I might focus on geography this year. I wanted to focus on the Great Migration and the return migration that we're experiencing right now, and why that is, and tie that into the economics of those choices that Africans in America are making right now. So, building my curriculum, I looked at each content. I knew I wanted to go with each core content, and then I created a framework around that. What are those things inside of those content that I want our students to walk away with? For instance, this year my focus in reading is a lot on poetry,
Mm,
um, because I feel that there are a lot of Africans in America who are writing poetry that are not being appreciated, and I wanted to just develop an ability to analyze text in small chunks, and we can get to the larger text next year.
yeah. That was good stuff. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you for pouring into my cup, Miss April.
I know you can call me anytime. I'll give you whatever I
Be careful. I asked them questions. But I do want to circle back to benefits of homeschooling, and I think it's obvious to me based on the just what you've been saying so far, and I think we have softly committed to homeschooling our kids. We don't have kids yet, but we're when the
got.
blessing when the blessing comes. But can you talk about from your perspective the benefits of being able to homeschool your kids or have them join a homeschool pod?
So I like to talk from because I serve educators and I serve parents and families and children. So I'm going to take that from two perspectives. From the educator perspective, what I know is that educators rarely leave the classroom because of children. That is never our issue. We knew what we were getting into when we signed up for this job. Like really, and the problem is always the school leadership, the district leadership, and the model that we have for education in America. So with that being said, from the educator standpoint, it gives you the autonomy that you can make the choices that you need to make for your children, and you don't have to worry about that oversight. Like I don't give grades. I don't see a need to. I have no reason to tell a child you're an A, you're a B, you're a C. Every one of my children are amazing to me. And they are where they are. I have never given my kids any grades. And it works. And my students just tested, and they tested one of my kids, 3 of them tested 2. They've gone 2 grade levels in 5 months in mathematics. 2 grade levels, right? Why do I need to grade them? I give them a test, every few months. That's it. So one of the things, but I get to do that inside of this space because I have that autonomy. So the benefit for the educator is the autonomy. Now for the family is that it allows you to give that individualized instruction to each of your children. You may have one of your children that's really into the arts. You may have another child that's really into the sciences. And you may want to teach them from a science perspective, and you want to teach the other from an art perspective. But if you put your child in a traditional school, there's a one style fits all inside of there. That's it. Unless you want to go to an expensive Montessori school that oftentimes there aren't let me be honest, there ain't Black kids in there. They're overpriced, and they're overpriced, and there are no Black children or very few Black children there. And if they are, they ain't my kind of Black. Let me say that, So
I mean, I wanna stop there because I know the Queen went to Montessori school for 1 year, 2 years, whichever is like
preschool,
that. Preschool years.
In kindergarten.
Okay. What was your experience then with Montessori schools?
So I did accelerate, if you say, it ended up putting me in a position to where I was able to go into first grade a year earlier than everybody. And truthfully, I only know that now because my parents told me, right? I was 2 or 4 at the time. So I don't know if that was a normal thing or if that was just me. I have no idea. But there were a few other Black students, but I'm not going to lie to you. I do remember a couple of moments where I felt a little scarred. And I have no idea if it had anything to do with race. Again, I was so young. I have no idea. But they were rough. It was a stringent program, if I remember correctly. And like, if you didn't do something, you knew that if you weren't, I just remember like passing a paper in and like being pulled to the front of the group, like what is happening here? And I remember why that moment sticks out to me so much. And again, I was so young. I don't know if that was a normal thing with all the students or if that was just me. I couldn't speak to that, but that was some of the negative things that I, did experience. But overall, academically, it did put me in a space to where I was able to start the traditional. When I went into first grade, I was in like a public school, and I was able to go a year earlier than everybody else, which, I mean, I don't know if that ended up having too much of a benefit.
It did have a benefit because, and I'll get right to you, Miss April. It did have a benefit because if you didn't go a year earlier, we wouldn't have been in college the same year. I would have been a year ahead of you instead of being the same year. we wouldn't have been here. You
You're
never
right.
know.
You're right.
So, hey, if it didn't help out academically, it helped out spiritually.
There you go. There you
Amen. April, sorry, you had something.
And that's my point about Montessori. Montessori's are great because they give you that freedom that we want to have. But the drawbacks to Montessori schools is that they oftentimes are very, very expensive, and there are not a lot of African American children in there. So the Black children that are there become very isolated. So I would say that the benefit of having this homeschool is allows you to individualize it for your children. It also allows you to spend more time with them, exposing them to other activities, other enriching activities. You have all day to do whatever amazing adventures you all want to explore, whether that be in the grocery store or whether that be travel. And now you don't have to wait on summer to travel. You save a lot of money. You could travel all year long, right? Because they could just go with you wherever you're going. So now you can take those trips in the off season. So I found that to be the benefit. And you can ensure that your child is being exposed to the values that you want to have your child exposed to. Because I'm going to tell you, the things that I have seen inside of these middle schools, I would snatch my child out of there so fast.
Yeah.
It is real what's going on inside of these schools. There's a lot of drug use. There's a lot of, believe it or not, there's a lot of drug use inside of the school. There's a lot of, being honest, there's a lot of sex going on inside of the school. And there are a lot of, unfortunately, inside of our schools, inside of low income communities, there are a lot of uncertified teachers inside of there that are really not advancing your child. And if you look at the data on these schools, these schools have been perpetually behind since the 60s. Some of these schools have never come out of the red in all of these years, but this is where we're sending our children to. So I think that, when you look at the fact that you can individualize, when you look at the fact that you can continue to travel with your family year round, when you look at you can provide your child with the values that are important to your family and ensure that they have those, that to me is the benefit to the family for homeschooling.
Dang, beautiful. So if you are in the College Park, Atlanta area, definitely make sure you connect. Yeah, she said, yeah, come my way.
And I'll direct you because I have a community. Even if your child is not the age group of mine, I have Nikita Simmons with Each One Teach One. She is the beautiful Black queen that saw what I was trying to do. She made sure that I walked in with 80% enrollment when I walked through the door. She has her own homeschool pod, but she does the K through 5. She said, hey, I'm going to send not only my kids, but any of the kids that come my way to you. That's what I'm saying. Black women support Black women. Don't believe the lie. That Black woman sent those children to me and made sure that I was straight when I walked in. So, yeah. So not even just me, I'll direct you to another homeschool community that can work for you.
Perfect. And we're streaming this right now also to the Black Wall Street, the board game Facebook group. And we're getting a lot of love, a lot of engagement. And I think one of our primary, I guess, customers or audience is homeschooling families. So you may get some love, may get some questions from folks in California, New York, Texas, with just questions on this stuff. So we appreciate you, April. Okay, we're getting into the Ask Declare segment. All right, so this is where you have your opportunity to go ahead and ask us any questions about our relationship, business, love, or health. The floor is yours, Miss April.
So as long as I'm talking about my passion, I am free to talk. I think I told you when we got started, I am an introvert though. But when we start talking about education, you won't even know it. But I'm building a great network surrounding people in the business that are coaches and mentors and so forth. But I'm really struggling with building a network of community. I have my friends. I have a group of friends I'm an educator, so most of my friends are educators, so that's great. But I really want to build a community of entrepreneurs, edupreneurs around me that we're not business partners, but it's like I want to have a community of friends that are entrepreneurs like myself. So how do I build? I have a network. I want to build a community. So how do I find that, being an introvert, find a community of of entrepreneurs to, feed off of and throw ideas around with, because that's what I feel like I'm missing right now.
Yeah, so it seems like for you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when you say community, you're looking for like sparring partners, right? People who are doing what
Right.
you're doing, who can help you build, you can learn from, pull nuggets, stuff like that.
Right, exactly. I want some people that are committed to, we're going to meet for this brunch every month. I want people, because I find, you know, right now I meet a lot of entrepreneurs that are just getting started and they're not as necessarily as committed as I am to it. And I
Yeah.
really want a community of those that are really committed to being an entrepreneur, that are really growing. And I don't know how to find that community, or maybe I don't know how to talk when I get in. I don't know, but I'm struggling with that.
Yeah, so I can, Queen, you want me to start? You got it.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with this myself. So
I got
Okay.
I got you. So I'll start off with two. One, I think I've been blessed to where I do have some people who started off as friends that are now also those sparring partners because we've helped each other build businesses together. Right. So I know you like dropping names. So I'll drop names as well. So I have Markel Johnson who helped build our board game. He did the graphics behind our board game. But then after the board game, he was like, "Oh, you know what? I like this business stuff. Let me start my own business too." So he started his own clothing business, and now we trade goals constantly. I'm always like, "Hey, bro, how was the week? Did you accomplish your goals?" At the end of each year and each quarter, we're like, "Hey, did you hit your goals or not?" We do like informal talks, so that's one of my for sure sparring partners in business. Me and him are also in a race to make $1 million first against each other, right? But I mean, whoever wins, it's all love. It's not a L either way, but it's having that person who can teach you but also push you at the same time, right? So I've been blessed in that sense. Um, on the other side, I would say, how can you possibly build that community or collaborate to build that community, right? So I
Right.
have two examples off of this one. One, this is something that I'm actively doing this year. I just published a book 2 weeks ago on my birthday called "Launch It: The 7 Steps to Launch," and in this we have accountability calls every Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, we're getting on and we're talking about business. The Queen's teaching me stuff. I'm teaching the Queen stuff. We got Christy who joined the other day, Dominique joining, Sam joining. So it's like we have these people who are now all able to build together. So whether you want to join Launch It, which I'm 100% open to you coming to launch it, or you build your own specific one around entrepreneurs and then build that community. My very last one, only because the Queen said she didn't have anything.
you took the one I did come to mind.
Oh, I'm so
It's
I'm so
okay.
sorry. I'm so sorry. My very last one is building events and then collaborating with the people that you want to be your sparring partners, right? And I will say 100%, April, me and you, we can be sparring partners 100%. We're on the same wave. There's so much I know you can teach me. If there's something that I can teach you, willing to give you that as well. But being able to collaborate and say, hey, in April, Financial Literacy Month, we're going to have weekly panels, and I want to bring in Erica Terry. I want to bring in Devon. I want to bring in Star. I want to bring in Sinclair to talk about health. And this can be either the first time you're engaging with those panelists, or it's a way to keep the relationship building so that y'all are constantly in the same circle, working together and growing together. I'm all.
I don't have anything new to add, but I was just the one suggestion that did come to mind was the accountability group. Just because if you're looking for other people to spar with, you are probably looking for other people who are also looking to be held accountable. Right? Anybody who's got those ambitions is usually also looking for some way to make sure that they're held accountable and looking for other people to do that with. So an accountability group is a cool way to attract people who also are looking for what you're looking for. So yeah, that can be something again that you start yourself and you're just reaching out for people to join, or it can be something you collaborate with others. Like, hey, I know we all have these goals. I know what you're trying to do, and it's similar to what I'm trying to do. Why don't we start a weekly call or accountability call, mastermind call, whatever you want to call it, where we can get together, we can share what we're trying to do, we can, hold each other accountable, we can share ideas, we can have mini master classes, each one, maybe we rotate, each person shares something about what they learned or share something about their business, their specialty. It can be something like that, super informal, to where you don't necessarily have to be the one reaching out to everybody, but that can be one that you collaborate with just other people to build that group, so that every single person member of that group is then responsible to reach out to others, and it's not solely on you. So that's my introvert speaking, because I know that like individual reaching out to everybody can be like, that's a lot of energy. That's a little bit draining. So I think just maybe collaborating with other people you already know, like, hey, let's just start this. I can't see people not liking that idea, so it's almost a slam dunk. And then it's just a matter of the logistics, like, okay, what time can we meet? How do we want this to work? Yeah, but I think that that's a good way to get the group started, and then it can organically grow from there.
Okay, I like it. Thank you. And my last question is, the one thing that I have been doing better on after my health scare is eating better, and but the exercising. You know, and I was so happy last week. I think it was last week when you said that, walking is actually helps you lose weight. I was like, yeah, I love to take walks, but then it's cold out now. And so I can't necessarily take the walks that I want to take. But, and I can work all day. I love to work. You said that you need to find what motivates you. That was, I don't know if that was you that said that, or the guest that was on last week or the week before, but they said that you needed to, find what motivates you so that you will exercise, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I can't figure out how to figure out what motivates me. Like, you would think, I feel like I want to be healthy. I was able to bring my blood pressure down from my eating habits and so forth. And I don't have the high blood pressure issues anymore. And so that, it's almost like but then I stopped, and then I'm like, I'm going to go right back. Mm-hmm. So knowing that it's making me unhealthy hasn't been enough for me to keep motivated. But how do you find the thing that motivates you when you feel like, how do you find what motivates you to get up and do it every day?
So that's a loaded question. I think you can go a couple of different ways with it, right? If you have a goal in mind, whatever that goal is, should be your motivation. I think for you, it sounds like it's more just trying not to slip back to where you've come from. So you almost have that built-in motivation there, because really all you need to do is remember where you were however long ago it was, right? And you said yourself, that if you don't continue to eat right, or if you don't exercise, like, you're going to go back there. So I think like that can also be a very powerful motivator, but not everybody has those experiences, right? So if you don't have an experience like that, you kind of have to find a goal, an intangible goal that you're trying to reach, right? But if you have an experience like that, that can be a very powerful motivation if you allow it to. Okay, I remember what it was like, right? In those moments of like, man, I don't feel like we're working out today. And if you don't have, if you're not trying to lose weight, or if you ain't got a vacation that you're trying to get your body right for, you may not have that very tangible goal. But what you do have an experience that you probably never want to experience again. So that can be something that you think about, right? In those times where it's like, man, I know I need to walk right now, but I don't really feel like walking. But I know that I don't want to be back in the hospital, or, be back with my blood pressure that way, that high, or back smoking those cigarettes, right? Think about that. And that can be your motivation to get back on track. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy, right? I'm always a proponent of under promise, over deliver. So just say, I'm just going to put on my shoes and I'm going to, walk around the house. Like, it can be very minimal. If you you live in a place where during certain months you're not going to be, if walking is your thing, and you live in Atlanta where during some times of the year walking outside may not be feasible, then it might be good to invest in a treadmill, right? Or it might be good to invest in a gym membership. You have to build those systems into your life, so that you can make sure that health is a consistent thing for you. Luckily, we're in California, so there's really no time of year that we can't go outside and walk, so we don't really have an excuse. But if you know that you live in a place where it's going to be freezing and walking outside is not feasible for you, then you have to build in your no excuses clause, right? So if you have a treadmill or if you have a gym membership, you have no excuse. So I think you need to build that in. But if you don't have those things, you always have that built in, like, well, it's kind of cold outside, so I'm not going to do it today. And it makes it your mind is so easily convinced, right, by those things, because it wants to preserve energy, right? Preserving energy is how you preserve survival and how you survive. That's how your body thinks, at least, right? So it's always going to want to sit down and not do anything. So you have to make that the hard thing to do, right? Again, so I caution, I want to say this, but I also want to caution, when someone has a goal, I usually tell them to make it visible in their space. Somehow, some way, shape, or form, right? If you have a body you're trying to accomplish, put it in your space, put it as your screensaver on your phone, make it visible somehow. If you know that your past experience is your motivation, if it's not triggering for you, it may be good to put a reminder of, like, this is where you came from, right? Not in something that's going to trigger a stress response or a traumatic response. We don't want to do that. That's counterproductive. But something that can just remind you of where you came from, so that you can also be reminded of how far you've come and how to continue the journey, basically. So that was a really long-winded way of answering your question, but I think that just remembering where you've come from and how far you've come in those moments where you don't feel motivated to work out is a very powerful motivator, or can be. And then also to give yourself no excuses. Those are probably the two biggest suggestions that I would give.
Nice. And I want to sprinkle just a little bit on there, because we started this conversation talking about self-care for entrepreneurs, right? And in April, you are an entrepreneur, you are a tutor, you are an educator, right? But you also need to find that time to take care of your health. And talking about conservation of energy, I would say, how can you habit stack what you're doing to what you want to be doing? Right? Habit stack from Atomic Habits is where you take something that you're already doing, it's already a part of your culture, you're already passionate about it, and you add on a healthy aspect. For example, it is perfectly clear to everybody watching and listening that you are passionate about education. Perfectly clear. How do you teach your students, or how do you help your students learn health? Right? What kind of yoga classes do you have your students do? What kind of meditation do you have your students do? What type of exercise are your students doing? And if your students are doing it, right, whether it's you teaching them or you bring someone else to come in and teach them, now that is in your space, right? So now while you're working, you're also taking care of your health, right? Or vice versa. I'm sure you like to read. Yeah, see, I see that I wrote. I knew it. So another habit stack is, what about while you read, you walk around your living room, right? And there has been studies. I don't have the exact studies like the Queen would have, but where when you're doing motion, when you're doing some physical activity and reading or learning, you retain some of that information better, because the learning of the words are associated with movement. So while you're reading, you're walking, you're doing some squats, you're doing hand raises, whatever it is, you're also retaining more of the education that you want to give to your students. So that would be my advice, is use your passion for the students, your passion as an educator, and figure out where can you sprinkle in a little bit of health in there for you as well.
It could also just be something in your routine. Like if you know that every day I don't know if you listen to podcasts, or, you like to do this a part of your, and I love listening to podcasts while I walk. It's like a walking meditation, almost like. So maybe that's another way you can habit stack. If you know every day for 30 minutes you listen to this podcast, you can habit stack. Again, if it's something you do every day, while I listen to this podcast, I also take a walk around the block, or I also get on my treadmill, so that it's a way to just incorporate it into your routine, so it doesn't feel like work. Because you look forward to that podcast. So if walking is just something you do while you listen to the podcast, you will start to look forward to your walk and podcast.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
course, beautiful questions. We appreciate that. And I also liked how we kind of circled back to self-care, right? We got in a beautiful, amazing curriculum galaxy, which we could stay and roam in all day long. But we did also want to make sure that we ended with self-care for our entrepreneurs and self-care for our parents and our educators out there, making sure you build it into your habits, right? But as we start to close, April, we want to know what's popping for you this year, right? What are some exciting things with the Pass Network or with yourself as an entrepreneur that you want to share with the folks, and some things that they can look forward to from you?
Actually, this year I launched the nonprofit wing to Pass Network. So I have Pass Network Foundation. And so if you would like to be a sustaining donor for us, I ask people $5 a month. You won't miss it. Go to the website, click donate, and say, I'm going to commit to giving $5 a month. And what I want to do right now, this program is only $400 a month for kids to participate in. But we know that $400 a month, I'm saying only $400 a month, but that could be a lot to somebody. So I'm going to be using that money to supplement so that more students, more families can have access to these services. So that's what we started the nonprofit for. So please consider, even if it's a one-time donation, but I would love to have more sustaining donors at least $5 a month. So that is, you can still go to passnetwork.org. And you can go to the nonprofit area of it, Pass Network Foundation, and you'll see that information. I also just launched my first Edupreneurs course, the Edupreneurs Workshop, to teach people, educators in particular, how to do the business, marketing, and mindset of the edupreneur. So that information is also on my website. It's called Pass University. You can go to passuniversity.org or you can go to passnetwork.org. And then there's a link there for you to do that. And then the last thing is that another fundraiser, that ongoing fundraisers, we have a t-shirt line. So it's called Unapologetic Tees. And the website is unapologetictees.co, not .com, but .co. And you could go on there, and that money also. So some people just like to donate the money, but some people want something back in return for their donation. So that's a way that you can donate and get something back. And there's some great affirmations on the shirts. And, it's even something on there. If you're just a wine lover like me, there's a great t-shirt that I have that says, I like my wine with a side of trap music.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of something on there for everyone. So I just wanted to create different avenues for people to donate to to my organization, as well as just support this vision, because this is going to become a franchise. That's my goal for this, is that I'll get more educators, because we've got to stop the bleeding out of educators from education altogether. That's what we've got to stop. We've got to stop these wonderful Black teachers from leaving and going into corporate America and leaving our children, because we know that our children are served best when they look, because the faces that they look at every day look like them. And we're losing our Black teachers. So I want to create a space where more Black teachers can come out of the traditional classroom and do this and serve more Black families.
Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Let's go. First off, congrats on the vision. I like that you're already starting with that in mind. Want to empower more teachers, want to have the franchise all over the world, all over the nation. Let's go. Make sure y'all go to passnetwork.org to empower yourself today. All right. We're going to get into our updates. We appreciate you for coming on, April, everyone listening. Queen, updates for the week. Go ahead, hit them with it.
Yes. So for me, for the Queen to Queen weight loss program, we are launching a beta program. So if you know anything about apps, right, before they go final, before they go public, they have like a beta program, and it's usually for a specific group of people. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for a specific group of women who are trying to get their summer bodies right. Right now is the time, because we're about 3 months away from summer, who want to be a part of a group, and you are getting the biggest discount that I will ever give for this program is you're getting a 50% off discount of the 90-day Queen to Queen weight loss formula program. All right. So if you are interested at all, 50% off, I want to repeat that. go to queentoqueencoaching.com, and all you need to do is schedule a qualifying call with me. And it's just to make sure that you are a good fit for the program and the program is a good fit for you. Okay, so definitely head to queentoqueencoaching.com if you're trying to lose weight, shed some pounds for the summer time that is right around the corner.
There it is. Go tap in. And then for myself, it's been a beautiful week and month for Play Black Wall Street. You're going to see some news next week across a few different news channels. You may also see us being sponsored or being highlighted on some social media channels. I don't want to give all the buzz so far, but just so y'all know, Play Black Wall Street, we making waves out here in the lake, out here in the ocean. We appreciate all the support. Everyone out there that's been rocking with us since 2018, 2019, 21, all that beautiful stuff. Of course, you can go to playblackwallstreet.com, get yourself a board game today. The second editions are available today or this month for $40, and the masterpiece editions are available for $60 off as well. Go to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself a game. All right. Appreciate y'all. This has been a good episode.
What?
I like this one. We talked about entrepreneurship. We talked about curriculum and pedagogy. Like, just this was a good bag. I've already said, April, definitely I'm willing to support, be in that community, be in that network with you, of folks that are, sharpening each other, competing against each other, helping each other, pouring into each other's cup, all of that. Let's go ahead and build together. If you're listening, we appreciate y'all. Queen, you good?
Good.
Okay, this is episode 99. Next week is episode 100. Come back, same place, different time on our YouTube channel. It may also stream inside of the Black Wall Street board game group. But again, we're at episode 99, about to be on episode 100. It's been a beautiful journey, and we want to continue to celebrate with y'all. But as usual, thanks for tuning in to a True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd.
We hope y'all stay healthy. We hope y'all stay mentally wealthy. And of course, we hope y'all stay true.
Thank you for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast. We hope you learned something valuable that you can take and implement into your life. Now, we've all heard that sharing is caring, and this podcast is no exception. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a stranger walking down the street, anybody who you think can level up from this message. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you next week. Be well.